Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video, I'm going to take a look at adding things to UI lists. So, for example, if you pick up an item, you might be able to add it to an inventory list. If you just want to add something to the screen every time you do something, this is the way to do it. Basically, it's adding information to lists dynamically. Um, if you want to add the exact same thing to a list every time, it's relatively simple. You just add item. However, if you want to add something with a different name or a different image at runtime, it can be a little bit more complicated. I'm just going to talk through some basics of setting that up. I'm going to simulate it in a way of just picking up a random item. Now, this isn't specifically built with any sort of system in mind for scale. Just before we continue, you'll be able certainly be able to scale it, but there isn't really. This isn't like specifically made for an inventory system. It's not specifically made for an achievement list. It's not specifically made for anything. It's put together in a way that it works for this demonstration. But if it needs to be sort of scaled for inventory, or if it needs to be scaled for achievement lists or something like that, or quest list or something like that, it may need to be slightly adjusted. I'm just putting that out there just because I don't know where this is going to go. I understand the beginning of it, and then how we drive it into exactly what you guys need. I don't know that yet. I don't know that yet. I need to try. I'm trying to. My goal is to keep this as vague as possible, but with enough covered where you can take it in that direction you want. Um, but I don't want to go right. This is a video for specifically inventory because it can be used for so much more. It's hard to explain because, like anything, typically everything's bespoke and unique for each individual game and application. Um, and this is I'm trying to cover some basics, but not lead you in a direction of this has to be for an inventory, this has to be for an achievement list or something like that. However, I have made it in somewhat of a style of an inventory. With that being said, so what I've got here is I've just set up a widget and I've just hotkeyed it to a button press so it pops up. And I've clearly broke that already. So let me just reopen that. So I press I on my keyboard and this pops up. So this is kind of like an inventory, let's say. I've wired it up that when I press the E key, random faces just pop up on the screen and it just fills the sort of slots that this has been built into. And as you can see, these are all the same thing. This is very easy. I press one button on the keyboard and the exact same thing. I just add a new one and I add a new one and I add a new one. Now, if I want to add something a bit more dynamic, so I run over this and I get a widget, and then I run over this and then I get an angel, and then I run over this and then I get a camera, and then I run over this and I get another camera. This is kind of set up to be random, but it's the exact same system. It's just taking in different text and different images each time to sort of populate the list. This is what we're going to make. But it's the back end of it which is more important than visually what it looks like. So let's. I'm just going to pause this, start a new fresh project, and then we'll get making it. Okay, so we've got a brand new template here. There's nothing special, literally just the third person template, and that's it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to proceed to make a new folder to start with in my third person folder. I'm going to call it HUD, and this is where our user interface is going to go, or heads up display. Go into that and I'm going to right click. First thing I'm going to do, widget blueprint. I'm going to call this one a WBP, so widget blueprint underscore and then HUD. Nice and simple. I'm going to open that up. Now this is going to get annoying, keep having to put these new windows up here, so I'm just going to quickly go to editor, preferences, and change the asset editor open location to main window, so then I don't have to keep tagging stuff to the top. Anyway, so for the main HUD, this is simply just going to be a canvas panel. So that's the main HUD sorted. Just keep that open for now though. Now I'm going to go straight in, another user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and this one's going to be WBP underscore and it's going to be item list. So that again, I'm going to open this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a canvas panel to start with. So canvas panel, and then I'm going to use a size box, and I think I should set my canvas panel to desired on screen, my size box, my position X and Y is going to be 0, and I'm going to set the size of my X to, I think, 600 and the Y to 700. I might actually just make that a little bit narrower, 550. So I've got a size box which is determining the size of my canvas. That's pretty much it. So inside my size box, I'm going to go for a border. I'm going to change the brush color of my border to black, but I'm going to set it to 0.75 on the alpha for some opacity. I then want another border on top of that, but I want padding to be 10. And then on the brush color for this one, I'm going to keep it as white, but I'm going to set my opacity to 5, something like that, or maybe 0.25. Hit OK. Hit compile. Now, before I continue, I'm just going to chuck this onto my main HUD. So open up the HUD, scroll down on the palette at the side, user created, and you should find BP item list. I'm going to drag that out. Now, what I'm going to do is just size the content straight away, change my anchor to the right hand side. I'm just going to 0 the X and Y, just like that. Change the alignment on the X to 1 and on the Y to 0.5, so it's in the middle like that. And then I'm just going to move this X back to like -150, just so it's slightly off the side of the screen, but it's not blocking the center of the screen. Sort of like just to the side. So hit compile, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my third person folder, get my character, so blueprints, third person character, open this up. Now on the event begin play at the end, I'm just going to add here create widget, select the class, and I'm going to pick the WBP HUD, that's the main one. From the return value, I'm going to promote this to a variable, and I'm just going to call this HUD ref, so HUD reference. From that, add to viewport. Oops, add to viewport. So that's adding it to my screen. Hit compile, and then I'm just going to go back and press play and see what happens. So that's not too bad. Just little sort of like panel on the side of the screen, which you'd expect to see like an inventory or something like that. So that'll do. Not too much time wasted on that. What I am going to do though is I'm going to set the visibility to collapsed, hit compile, and then I'm actually going to go to the graph, set up a custom event, and just call this toggle inventory. Yep. And then what we'll do from the side, we've got these variable here for my list. Drag this out, get that, look for set visibility. So you want the function, not the behavior. And then we want this to be visible when we press it. Duplicate that, set this to collapsed for a second one. And the reason being is we're going to use a flip-flop. Now a flip-flop, when you press it, the first time you press it, oops, it goes to A. Then the second time you press it, it goes to B. And it flip-flops between them two states. So the first time we press it, we're going to make it visible because we've currently left it as collapsed, so it's invisible. And then we're going to keep switching back and forth between that. So if we press play now, let's just have a quick look. So it's not visible. If I... Oh, we need to set a key to press that, obviously. So back in our third person character, I'm just going to press I, and then keyboard. And if you scroll down, you should get some. Usually comes up pretty quick, but here we got I. So I for inventory. Just keep it nice and sweet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this HUD reference that we made. get HUD reference, and then inside the HUD there's going to be that custom event, so toggle inventory. Just like that. So that's fine. So we're going to toggle the inventory with that HUD reference. Now we're going to press play, and if we hit the I key, it pops up, but if we press it again, it disappears. So you can keep pressing that, and your inventory comes up. Disappears. Okay, so that's the basic bit out of the way. Geez, we're already 10 minutes in. I'm trying to make this video a little bit. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to keep going. I tend to make videos too long. Right, so we've got our, this is our main HUD. Let's go over to the item list. Now we just need to finish this up. So this list at the moment can't hold stuff. It can't hold stuff. So we're going to add a list, and the type of list we're going to go for is a tile list. Tile lists obviously block stuff like that. So it's blocks of information instead of just a list. You can use a list for this, by the way. It doesn't matter at all. It needs to be a list, so you can use list view, tile view, tree view. It doesn't matter as long as you can use the node add item. You're good. You're good to go. Now, this list is blank at the moment because we need. You can add sort of like a preview entry model, but you need to assign one to be able to do that. So here, entry widget class. So if you want to do a preview, we need to make one of these. So we're going to add one, and inside the blueprints folder, look for our third person. Look for HUD, and then I'm going to call this one WBP item list. Actually, this is going to be a list item. Alright, yep. So save. So we've got our list item, and at the moment it's just going to be blank. What do we want? I'm thinking size box, desired on screen, and I'm thinking let's do a width and height override. Let's just have it 100 width by 100 height. Might make that 120 just to give enough space for some text. Then I'm thinking let's go for a vertical box, so add that inside. Inside the vertical box we're going to add an image and a text, and we want them to fill, and I might leave the text on auto. So this is what we've got. That text is 24 pixels high, the size wise. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the font not to be as big, maybe something like 12. That's probably appropriate. I also want my I think I'm going to set it to center like that. Let me just set an image. So inside the image, what I'm actually going to do is go to brush, and I'm going to change the image. This is something random, so like green icon. So that's fine, but if I do that, right, so I do want to stretch it. So by stretching it, it's going to force it to be around 100 pixels high and wide. So that's absolutely fine as long as it's square. That's the main thing I'm bothered about, that it's square. So that's absolutely fine for me. Yeah, okay. So that's obviously a problem, but we'll try and consider that. So face. So for my text, I am going to want to center this text so it's always centered. So that's fine. I don't mind that. That's absolutely fine. Okay, that's fine. So for the image, I'm actually going to change the title of this, or the name of this, to display image, and then the text itself, I'm going to change that to display text. Display text. So we've got a display text and display image. Hit compile. That's That's absolutely fine. So now we've got an actual an entry widget. Let's assign that to our item. So there we go. So it's already assigned 5 of them by default. So the thing for me, I wanted this to be 4 across. So that's worked out quite nicely. And if we have 20 of them, they all fit in there nicely. 20 is really a minimum in my eyes for some sort of like inventory. So anyway, let's not get into inventory. That fits nicely for me. You can mess around with the spacing here if you want, or what the actual entry height is meant to be. So entry height and width is 100 for me. Let's change this. So that's absolutely fine because they are. And then I think there's some spacing here as well, so you can put how much spacing you want. But I don't think it updates. There you go. So that's spaced them out quite nicely. So there's 10 spacing around them. That was here, entry spacing. You can set it to whether it's scrollable or not. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into the details of a tile view, but there are some style options here, whether it can scroll, how much spacing's around it, and sort of which orientation does it go. Does it scroll up and down, or does it go sideways? But I'll leave that all to you. So at the moment, we've got a list that sort of can handle items. Now, there are some changes we need to make to this this entry widget. So let's go over to the list item. So this is it. This is our entry widget effectively. And we need to go over to the graph to make these changes. Now, go to the class settings. And if you scroll down, you will see here, implemented interface, user list entry. So this is a widget, which is a list entry. It can be added to lists. Now, in my experience, once you've added something to a list, dynamically changing what is on that once it's added to a list doesn't work for me. The multiple times that I've tried it, it always ends up crashing Unreal. So I don't like it. I just avoid using them even if I'm doing a static list or a dynamic list. I'll always avoid using a user list entry. So I'm going to remove that, and it says, would you like to transfer the interface functions to your to the part of your blueprint? No, don't care. I'm going to add another interface, and it is a user object list entry. So instead of the list entry, an object list entry. Now this one's slightly different to the point of on list item object set is an interface that you now get access to. Now this has got a really silly name, but effectively it just means when something's added to the list, this is called. So whenever something's added to a list, or this is added to a list, this is going to sort of trigger, let's say. And then what we can do is we can say, right, now this has been added to a list, let's change this and this to what we're expecting it to be. This will all fall in line, by the way, so don't worry too much about it. But what we can do is once we've triggered this, we can say, right, let's set our text to this, and let's set whatever. But what we need to do is let's go back to class defaults, scroll down, and you can see we've got a display image as a variable. So this is going to be this image. This is going to be this image. And what we can do is drag this in, get display image, and what we need to do is set brush. Now, you'd expect it to say set image, but effectively, because it's an image type, the way that it's handled is a brush can have an image, a color, a size, and all this sort of stuff. So we're going to set a brush, but from a texture. So basically, this is set image, if you will. So we'll set that, and then what do we want to set it to? We don't know yet. And also we can't set the text. So let's just nip back to the designer. click on our text, and we want to tick this little box up here that says is variable. Go back to the graph, and you'll see now that you've got display text. Drag that out, get text, set text, and you want to find the widget function. Let's pop that into there like that. Great. So now we're ready to receive some data. So this has been added to the list, and then immediately this event is called, which we're then going to update sort of the image and the text on the fly. But we need an object. We need to create. Whoa! I shook my screen. We need to create an object which has this information in, which is sort of carried through this. Go to your content browser, and I'm going to go to the HUD folder for this. I'm going to right click and go to blueprint class, but you won't find it here. You need to go to all classes, and we just want to create an object. So this is like a basic nothing. It's an object. It's not been assigned a class. It's not a character. It's not a blueprint. It's just a pure object. It's a nothing. It's as raw as it gets. So select an object and call this obj underscore list item object. Open this up. So in this object, the only thing that we need here are some variables which are going to hold the information we want to transfer to that widget. So as it stands, all we've got is a display image, which is a texture, and a display text. So in our object, we need to create a display text, and that was of type text. So if we compile, let's go back. You can see here in text, it's a type text, and this texture here is a type of texture 2D. So that's the other thing we need to make. So let's create a display image, and let's find that type of texture, and then it was a texture 2D, and we want an object reference. So let's compile that. Now, for us to be able to set this, we need to make sure that it's instance editable and expose on spawn, and same again for the text, expose on spawn and instance editable. Hit compile, and we'll save that for now. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to create we're going to create this this object. So if we want to keep it really simple, we'll just do it inside our third-person character, and then depending on how long this video gets, I'll make a random item that we can walk into, and it'll add the item to our list. So just to make it nice and easy, let's just do the E key, keyboard, E key. Scroll down and find it. So I'm just going to press the E key. Again, don't hard code stuff like this into your game. I mean, you can, it's completely up to you, but it's probably worth doing the input, adding an input mapping for these buttons. So for like, I mean, obviously this is debugging what we're doing here, but for your inventory, set it up as like an open inventory button in your mapping context. But for this one's just development, so we're okay for that. Okay, so we're going to press E, and we want to add the item to our list. Now, before we can do that, what we need to do is create an object. So create object. Sorry, it's construct. Construct an object from class. Open that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to select a class, and we're going to look for obj. So obj. And let's find it. obj list item object. That's what we've made, and you can see straight away as soon as I pick this class, it's like, well, I need a display text and I need an image. So for our display text, we're just going to put devil, and for our display image, if you click on this, you should have all the system default icons. One of them is just this little red devil-y looking icon, so I'm just going to pick that. Now this is going to return an object. Let's now We need to get a reference from our HUD. I'm just deciding whether I should just create a new HUD reference or just drag this down. Let's use another reference. So HUD reference, get HUD reference. We're then going to get our WBP item list. So this is the list that can hold our widgets. And then inside this, there should be a tile view. Now, I've not renamed mine, so it's just tile view 0. So that's absolutely fine. And then this is the thing that we're going to be able to add items to. So from the tile view, add item. So you can see that it comes under the category as list view, add item, just like that. And it's saying, well, what do you want to add? Now, because we've set it as an object list entry, this is saying, well, I need an object as an input. Instead of just I need a list entry, I need a widget to sort of make the same thing every time. I can give it an object. Now, because of the way we've created this object, we've not here, we've statically said that it's a devil and an icon. You can feed in a list of text and a list of items and get it to pick. So picture this. You've got a sort of an Excel spreadsheet, a data table with IDs. So ID number 0 is like a sword. ID number 2 is a shield. ID number 3 is a pair of pants. ID number 4 is a bread roll. ID number 5, a health pack, and so on and so forth. What you could do is you could set up a giant database to say, I've just picked up item ID 22. You can run that through your data table. Right, ID number 22 is, I don't know, machine gun ammo. And then from the data table, you can say, right, well, machine gun ammo has this as a name, machine gun ammo. This is its picture. This is what it does, so on and so forth. We're just going to manually type this in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply add that item. Now, adding the item with the object input is basically, let's go back to the list item. So we're now on this widget. So basically, we're doing the add item. This is going to trigger, and it's going to say, right, from this object, which we're going to cast to our OBJ list item object, because that's the type we're passing in. So then from that, let me make a little bit more space. From this cast is going to be successful because we've passed in the same object. As this list object, what we're going to do is get our display image. Pop that in there like that. And so let's just rearrange these a little bit. And then from the same object, we're going to display text. So get that. And let's just pop that into here like that. Move that over there. I'm going to put a reroute node in there by double clicking this just to make it look a little bit more presentable. So here we go. When we get this add list item, we're going to carry that object in. That object's going to come through to here. We're going to cast back to it to get access to the data within it, which is our display image and our display text. And then we're going to set our widget to that. Hit compile. I'm going to do a save all, just in case anything goes wrong. I'm not going to lose anything. When working with dynamic lists, I play it really safe and just save it all before I try it, because I've had the engine crash so many times and I've lost so much work. And it's save as you go. It's a good principle to work by. Let's go. So we've got an issue with the third-person character. We can't compile it. Why? Okay, that's weird. So I've just pressed compile and that issue's gone away. So I'm not sure what that is. So I'm going to hit I, get my inventory list, and then I'm going to press E on my keyboard, and we get a devil. So every time I press E, I'm getting a devil. So we're at 30 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and squeeze in a random item. It's not going to look pretty, but we'll try and make this a little bit more dynamic. Is it worth me saving that for part two? Because I'm probably going to need to go into interfaces and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm probably going to leave that for like a part two. Just because we're at half an hour already. I don't know how we've got to half an hour already. But we have done. Okay, so what we've done is we've created a HUD. We've added this item list to it, which is just a couple of borders and then a tile view. We've created, oh, so here's the tile view. We've then created a sort of an object list entry. Object being the keyword there. Once these are once an item has been added to the list, this event on list item set gets called, brings in the object. We're casting to that and feeding this data in. So on the fly, it is sort of setting it dynamically. What we can do, actually, we can just do a random int in range, random integer in range. Let's just do 3. And then what we'll do is we'll select a random text. So select, put this in. So a random number is going to be picked. So if it's, so let's do 4 of these. So we'll do green, yellow, blue, red. And what we'll do is we'll pick a random image too. So we'll do a select on that. Select. And now when this is random, it's going to be random for both of them. So this might get 0 and this might get 4 or 3. So they're not actually going to line up doing it this way. But this is going to be the quickest way I can do it. So let's do red. Let's add 2 more. So let's add that widget and let's add a little Android dude. Sweet, so let's hit compile, and every time I press E, it's going to get a random name and a random picture. So open up the inventory, hit E, and we're getting random stuff each time, like that. I don't recall the text being at the top, but it clearly has switched around. Have I pressed something by accident? But you can see this has the ability of populating a list. It's somewhat dynamic. I know we're statically setting that, but in the next video what I'll do is I'll look at an item in the world that you can run into, which will add itself to this list, and depending on the length of that video, I'll try and sneak in data tables. So some things that we can sort of go for. I can show you how to populate like an achievement list sort of thing. So we'll set up a data table with like 5 example achievements, and when you open this list, it might populate. I'll change it. I'll use a list view. Or I might just do a separate video on that, to be honest. Sort of how to make achievements appear in a list, because we'll need to set up like a structure and stuff like that. And then same again. Sorry. In like a part 2 for this specific video, what I'll do is we can run into an item in the world and it'll add that specific item to the list, which then is more falling in line with like an inventory type system. So yeah, let me know what you think. If this video was useful, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a like. If you don't want to miss the next videos that I do about this, consider subscribing so you sort of keep on track with that. If you want to have a chat about this or anything else, there's a Discord link down below. There's quite a lot of us, so if you need support with like this or anything else, it's a good place to go. A lot more responsive. You can share pictures and videos and stuff like that to make it easier to explain what you need. But I'll leave that with you. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in another one. Thank you. Bye.